Hello, this is Jefferson Alders from givingisgood.org. Today we have a very special group with us. It's called Helicopters for Heroes, and we have Samantha Butero, and we also have Jeff Roberts, a friend of mine. And this is kind of a special, they're very unique. It's probably not an organization that you're ever going to find that I know of anywhere else in the country, probably not in the world. They specifically focus and help wounded veterans and veterans, and they do something very different. The main focus, Helicopters for Heroes, was started to take veterans and wounded veterans that may not have a chance, put them on a helicopter at a ranch that's donated their time and space, and they allow Helicopters for Heroes to operate for a whole weekend and have this massive annual event. Put these people, these veterans, these warriors on a helicopter, put them in the air, and go get to hunt hogs. So it's adrenaline, it's fun. It's very different. Some people might agree, some people may not agree with it, but you hear a lot of different sides of it. I personally have gone and helped at two of the events 2 years in a row, and will probably go back this year to help. I worked on the flight line. I helped people get in and out of helicopters and schedule the teams that were helping the people get from point A to point B when it was their time to get on the helicopters. And then one night, for the first time that I got involved, one of the bartenders disappeared. So I bartended till 1 a.m. in the morning. Just so you know, I don't bartend, nor do I know how to bartend. But I was like, sure, I can grab a beer out of a cooler and hand it to somebody, or I can get somebody a Diet Coke, no problem. So they're going to tell us a little bit about where Helicopters for Heroes is headed, what's going on in the future. They've added a division, which is super cool, and they're being able to do a lot more things throughout the years. And Jeff's going to tell us a little bit about what they have for needs as far as corporate sponsors. And then now, Samantha, from what I understand, you are like the new executive director. You've had this crazy job of running this organization dumped in your lap. And were you like, okay, I'll take it? Or were they like, here, it's all yours?
It was a combination of both, I'm pretty sure.
I bet.
So, but it's been great. It's been great. Everybody on the team is amazing. So, other than the occasional nudge and homework that they have to do, they've been pretty responsive. So
she's basically our team leader.
Yeah. What's your background? How did you get involved with Helicopters for Heroes?
Well, so Philip Brooks, who's the founder of Helicopters for Heroes, also owns several other companies, and one of them is Basco Services, which is an aviation fuel support company. Okay. And his company is nationwide, and they were in California working on at an FBO and on some fuel tanks. And we had a piece of ground support equipment from my previous employer that we needed to work on. And they had Basco Services, and it looked like, hey, you must be mechanically inclined. Could you work on this stuff for us? And they started doing a great job. And so I came to Texas and met Philip and his team and set them up as a service center for us. And that was 4 years ago. And so when I met Philip and he was talking about Helicopters for Heroes, I really wanted to get involved because I was heavily involved in my community in Boise, Idaho with first responders and military. Cool. And I just couldn't get my company to get on board. So long story short, I ended up wanting to make a change. My kids were all graduated from high school and moving on to the next phase in their lives. And Philip had asked me if I was ever ready to take a job, to let him know first. So I let him know, and I said, do I have to move to Texas? And he said, well, no. And I said, well, I want to be a part of the foundation. And he said, well, then you're moving to Texas.
Time to come to
okay.
Texas.
So 3.5 weeks later, I was in the car driving to Texas and starting a whole new venture. So wow. Initially I was starting out just to help with the board. And then I was honored with the privilege of being elected to the board as overseeing their fundraising and marketing. And here we are.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So you literally ended up with a new job and in charge of one of the most interesting nonprofits that I know of.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's quite the experience you got coming, right? So tell us a little bit about what the future is headed, like where you guys are headed. I know we've got an event coming up for 2020, which Jeff's been feverishly working for to raise funds, because what you guys do, it's not cheap.
No.
Right? It's a big event. It takes a lot of people. It takes money. It takes a lot of coordination, and it is highly safety regulated.
Absolutely.
You know? Tell us a little bit about that, and then we're gonna ask Jeff some questions about what it takes to do this, because there's some people out there that are gonna go, okay, so what do you need? How do you need it? You
right.
know, and then so kind of fill us in.
So I'll let Jeff talk about historical part of Helicopters for Heroes, because as I've said, this is my first event with them. But going forward, we have the privilege of the city of Ennis now stepping up and saying, hey, you guys have been having this for the last 6 years in our community. We want to get behind it and inevitably end up being the most patriotic city in the state of Texas, is what they would like to be. That's their goal. So they now are going to put on a festival, which will run congruently with us, and but it's kind of separate. So if Helicopters for Heroes, for whatever reason, were to go away, they would still have their festival and have that going on. But we're co-oping the entire event, which is different than what we've done historically, because it's been kind of more of a private, just with the beneficiaries that we've been working with and sponsors. So it's taking it to a whole different level this next year. So we're really excited about that piece of it.
So the city is backing you guys now.
Yes.
They're saying, because I know when I've been there and Jeff's been, I mean, there's so many people that show up, and there's cars coming from everywhere. And, you know, in just the course of a weekend, I don't know how many people that brings in, but that city has to go, man, all the hotels are full. We got people coming from all over Texas.
Right.
We were hosting 300 to 400 people.
Yeah. We got
average.
The people who provide the firearms bring trucks and trailers full of guns for the hunt.
Triple J Armory. They make the trek down every year with their RVs and their full armory to help support the
people coming from everywhere to put this event on. Plus you're flying in helicopters. So now you've got all this, you've got helicopter traffic flying in and flying out and flying around. I mean, so
which brings the FAA into the whole equation. And so you've got government rules. That's why we're
going to have 4 Hueys this year and 2 Little Birds.
Wow.
So I think we'll have anywhere from 5 to 7 helicopters when it's all said and done.
And we welcome more. So if anyone has a helicopter they want to loan us, that would be great.
How much land does it take? Let's talk about the people who are in that community. They are donating ranches and saying, hey, we want to do our part. We're going to put our ranch on the map for you guys to hunt. Number one, which a lot of people, if they're watching from another part of the country, it's hard for you to understand what it's like in Texas when you have 1,000 acres and you have a herd of 300 pigs. And what wild hogs will do to your land.
I'll add to that. As we're going out and getting LOAs, the landowner agreements set up, it takes a whole year to do that. We can use 30,000 acres up to 80,000 acres. It depends on each year what we get. But the farmers and the ranchers are getting a big payday from this by us taking care of this hog situation. And if you guys saw on the news just recently, a lady was eaten by a pack of hogs down in Anahuac, Texas. Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah, she was pinned between.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so I mean, they're adapting so well to whatever situation and the food sources. So, you know, they eat deer, turkey, quail. I mean, they're hurting our population. They're probably even eating predators. They eat themselves. And we hunt them on a weekly basis, thermal hunts, and we'll come back 3 days later and they're gone and completely shredded by the other hogs. So we're doing a big service to the community and all the farmers as well.
It's hard, you know, because people don't understand the devastation that they can put on a farming community when they're not put in check. And I'll give you another stat. The state of Texas, and I make sure I don't get this wrong, and I'm not a game warden, but the state of Texas this year opened up the ability for a landowner to allow someone to hunt on their land hogs without a hunting license.
Yes,
because of the problems that we have with wild hogs.
And we can hunt them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Yeah. So just to give you a sense of what hogs do. You know, it's so hard for people that in the South, a lot of people understand it.
Once from Idaho, I don't
yeah,
know. I don't get it either.
But if you don't have wild hogs, it doesn't really make any sense.
It's a great recreation for guys that want to get out. I take a lot of veterans out on thermal hog hunts, and it doesn't cost anything really. I have the equipment. We take them out. I have a couple of pieces of land that we can take them on, and it's great fun, and it also does a service to the state of Texas.
Yeah.
We have over 6.5 million hogs right now. We kill them at a 20% rate, and I think they're reproducing at a 30% rate. We can't keep up with it. If we killed them at 30% a year, we would maintain our level of 6 million hogs, basically.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's a crazy number.
It is. It's so funny to sit and have the discussion about it, because we're all business people, and you sit here and start to really think, okay, how are you going to, make the hog population go away? Now, the interesting thing is that to take wounded veterans, I have been there when we have taken, you're pulling people out of their wheelchairs. They haven't been in a helicopter in years maybe, because they're confined to their world sometimes. Mm-hmm. And they don't have, I don't know if you know this, but putting people in helicopters, if you're just going to go out and do it, it costs a bunch of money. So
it's one of our biggest expenses is the time on the helicopter and the jet fuel.
Yep.
That's probably almost $100,000 of one of our expenses for the weekend.
Just for the weekend. How many people this year do you think, how many of the veterans will you be able to fly and take them on a hunt? What do you think
based off of our beneficiaries, so we have two, the FEW, which is the Exceptional Warriors, and then Sons of the Flag. So those two organizations each get to bring 10 veterans as a part of them being awarded. With us, and then the SOS Foundation, which is our squadron that's affiliated with us now, they also will bring 10. So right there's 30. Okay. In addition to that, Independence Fund is funding 5 of their veterans to also come out. So we will have 35 veterans flying this week or that weekend.
And we'll have several more knocking at the door that it's hard to host that many and keep eyes on that many. Right. So we've got to regulate it and have new ones come each year. Right. So with donors' help, that helps us take care of these guys, put them in a hotel, fly them down. American Airlines in the past has given us 1 million miles a year to help bring the wounded down with a caregiver.
Because they're coming from other parts of the country.
All over the country.
Right? They're coming from everywhere. And then when you think about American Airlines jumping in, helping, because it is a veterans cause, and when you are taking wounded veterans and you're bringing them happiness. Hunting is fun, okay? Right. For people that enjoy it, right? And that kind of process to help wounded veterans do what they may not ever get to do.
This may be the first adventure they've ever done since they got
out.
Talk about
that.
Wounded.
Or maybe even ever.
Well, they've been rehabbing for years now, and then now they're getting a wheelchair where they can get mobile, or they have a caregiver that gets them outdoors. So we're trying to find more ways to get them outdoors, to honor them a little bit, and make them feel like they're part of this society.
I mean, you're thanking them for their service in a big way. Definitely. Because they just may not ever get to do this. It's hard to explain, when you start walking people through this process. I've just been there, so I was able to witness it, so it makes sense to me. Right. Talk a little bit about the SOS, where that's headed, all the functions that Helicopters for Heroes can take SOS, and the new things that you are going to be able to do through that squadron that's being added.
I can expand on that a little bit. So SOS was formed. We have a gentleman on our board named Tim Whelan. He used to take guys hunting with another organization, and they did that year-round, or fishing trips. So we decided to bring this squadron in under Helicopters for Heroes, because over the years we've started raising more money and getting a little bit bigger. So he has been a big part of, and you worked with him, so you understand. Yeah. And Tim does amazing things for the veterans. And he's setting up kayak fishing trips, an adventure out on a camping trip or a hunting trip, or one-on-one. You told me they took a blind guy, right? Yeah. On a hunting trip just recently. Wow. So I'm sure that had to be 2 or 3 guys helping that one guy, shoot a deer or harvest meat for his family.
Yeah. That's a lot of work,
What is I can't remember what that stands for.
Are you serious? Support Operation Services.
Yeah, that's so you can edit that.
Glad I'm here.
Okay, so Tim, and I met Tim. Is he retired yet, or
No,
is he
he's
still
still at
working?
Lockheed Martin.
He's still working at Lockheed Martin every day, and then on the weekends he's taking veterans out, and he's a veteran himself. Comes from a veteran family, very dedicated to veterans causes.
Hardest working guy we know.
Wonderful guy.
Yeah.
And and he's taking people hunting and fishing and dedicating his time to once again helping veterans heal, bringing them some happiness, mentoring them, bringing some family along with them. A lot of people forget the family, how they suffer as the veterans suffer, because it takes such a team to keep the veteran going and to keep them going through the process and the rehab. And, it's such a big family event. And I know Tim jumps in and helps with that.
Yeah, he does. And one thing that's great about Tim is as we get veterans that are reaching out independently via Facebook or social media, website, we're able to send them to, hey, Tim, can you vet this guy? Is this someone who would benefit from our organization? Is he someone? Because if you think about the board of Helicopters for Heroes, none of us are veterans. None of us have military experience other than what we do with this organization. So having someone like Tim that can vet them and say, I don't know that we want to bring this guy around helicopters and guns. I don't know that it would be wise for us. Or, hey, this guy really, really
mentally stable and that they're ready for this. So, and you can, Tim's the kind of guy that can talk to a guy for a half hour, take him to lunch, and find out where he is in the slot of, hey, we need to get this guy some mental health first before we take him on an adventure, before we put him in harm's way or anybody else. So.
Right. Well, and the other side of it too.
We vet all of that. So.
Right. And the other side of that too is, hey, this guy really needs this. I'm going to bump him up over this guy because, PTSD is a huge thing with veterans, and the suicide rate with veterans is extremely high. So being able to have an impact where last year there was a gentleman who had literally made the decision that he was going to take his life, got the phone call, hey, we've got a slot for you, you're going, be ready to leave tomorrow. Got on a plane, came out, had the camaraderie, had the brotherhood, went back, called Tim and said, hey, I was going to make this decision, but because I got this phone call and you made a room for me, I've made a different decision with my path going forward. So we've got counselors that are there working with them at this event, doing PTSD, going through trauma, getting them the support that they really need. That when you get so hermetized, you don't realize that there is people out there that genuinely care and want to make a difference in your story.
There's so many ways we touch lives that we don't even know because it happens after they leave and we never get feedback on that. And that's not because it's because we're so busy and we get these stories. This story came back to us through somebody else. So
and there are a bunch of different veterans groups that bring veterans. They come along, so it helps some of the other veterans groups that are out there.
That pay for packages. They'll donate just to come back and hang out, or they come with another sponsor that they bring to me, where they'll write a check and put them as on their guest list.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and we really welcome, because of what we're doing with Ennis now, we've really welcomed any of our previous beneficiaries. Hey, bring your table out, bring your booth out, tell your story, pitch your stuff. It's not all about Helicopters for Heroes. We are all about what's best for the vet. How can we help them make a difference in their lives? And that's really, people get wrapped around the axle about the hunt piece of it, and they forget the story and what we do to make a difference.
Well, we have donors from all over the country. We've had donors come down, set up booths, or donate money and bring friends from the Midwest or out. We've had people come as far as Washington State to come to this event. We're only 25 minutes south of Dallas, so it's easy to get to.
So Jeff, you're in charge of fundraising, right? It's your job to go and say, hey, look, we need this and this and this, and we're trying to do this. Walk us through it, man.
Begging for money is not easy, especially today.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's tough sometimes, right? I mean, it's not So tell us.
So I have to tell this story quite a bit. I'm going after big equipment companies or accounting firms or law firms to try to show them a way to donate, get a tax rebate, take care of our veterans. So there's a lot of factors involved of, because they allocate money way in advance for next year. Yeah. So we have to get ahead of that to try to get in their good graces and get them to donate. Or, it's easy when I find guys that like to hunt. Right. And love our veterans. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. They want to come out and shoot. We do a 1 mile shoot. We do machine gun shoot. We've got sporting clays. This year we may even have new things to do, like throw, hatchets. It's a big thing now with some of these bars. They do hatchet throw. Yeah, axe throwing.
We did get that as of today,
so,
as a matter of fact.
That's cool. All the help I can get raising money from individuals at home that want to donate $5 or $10 or $100, or send us a corporation that has a bunch of hunters that think they might want to bring their clients down and entertain. This is a great way for somebody to entertain. It's already set up. They just got to buy a package, and we host them all the way through it. Okay. And you get a tax write-off.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the tax write-off, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people, if you look at our different packages that we have, everything is negotiable, right? So, hey, we can't have time. We don't have time for this. Or we can't do this. Can we do this, this, and this? Absolutely. We'll customize it so that it makes sense. It's a win-win, right? Yeah. Philip's big philosophy is everything needs to be a win-win.
Right.
So,
and that always helps in business.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things I want to get back to, Philip started this back when they legalized shooting hogs out of a helicopter. Yeah. He started a little day trip with some friends at a ranch, and one of his buddies, she flies an R44, a Robinson 44. And they went out to a local friend's ranch out towards Ennis somewhere, and 12, 14 guys showed up, and they had a bill, maybe $5,000, $6,000 worth of jet fuel. The next year, every one of those friends brought 4 friends, and it got really big fast the next year. Philip got stuck with a big fuel bill and said, well, damn it, if nobody's going to help me pay for this, I'm going to start something to help veterans and have a write-off. And basically, that's how it was formed. But the main reason he's formed this company, or this 501c3, he was in the mountaintops of Colorado with his son in Steamboat. And they were walking up and they saw a guy wearing a World War II hat. And his son was probably, 9 or 10 at the time? 11 years old, walked up to him and thanked him for his service.
Well, the back a little bit to add to that is there was an event similar to this where there was an organization that they were doing a veterans appreciation event. And the guy called Philip and said, hey, can you come help? And Philip said, well, I'm spending the day with Trey, his son, can I bring him? Absolutely. So, being 11, you're asking very bold questions. What happened to your arm? What happened to your leg? Why are you burned? Why this? Why that? And the smiles and just the sense of, I don't want to say giddy, but can't think of a better word, giddiness that these soldiers would have in being able to tell their story to someone who actually was interested in listening. And so Philip saw, and didn't think a lot of it at the time, but after that, they were in Steamboat, and that's when Trey walked up and thanked a veteran, and Philip's like, ding, 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 that's what we need to do. We need to bridge that gap between our youth and our veterans so that when our youths are playing video games or watching television and they see that there's something happening in Afghanistan and they don't desensitize, they make it real and go, okay, well, I just shot a rifle, or, I had a sniper vet teach me how to shoot gun safety. Or so it's more of bringing that youth and the veterans together and making sure that we bridge that gap between them.
Too many of our youth take them for granted. They have no idea what our military does.
Absolutely.
It's worse now than it's ever been. So we've got to have groups like ours and these other, like 22 Kill, Folds of Honor. There's a lot of them out there that we've actually raised money for, and they've been the recipients at this event. So we're going to continue this.
Can you talk a little bit about how you guys raise money for other people? And I know at the end of the second night and the first night, there's a big concert. You've got a bunch of families there. They're with their veterans. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's having more of a family time with their family and with a bunch of people that they can talk to. And that's healing. That produces healing.
It does, absolutely. So with partnering with the city of Ennis, that concert, all that traffic that you talked about, all that noise is now going to be, I don't mean to say noise, but it's going to be
loud.
It's loud. It's going to be.
That's okay. It's a concert.
Right. It's going to be in the city of Ennis. So they're going to open up the main street downstairs or downtown Dallas Street,
We'll have a big stage presence.
There'll be a big stage presence, and we're trying to make, the hunt area and the flight line area more about the veterans and the sponsors, and make it a little bit more private, and making the downtown area more about the community and really expanding. So there, I think the city of Venice is expecting around 4,000 people to show up to this event, if not more. So really, they're really trying to build it up, and I think that impact is going to be exponential. And we also will have Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top, who will be performing with Tim Montana and a bunch of local bands. And, we've got food trucks that are stepping up.
Tim
and
Montana.
Yeah, I said, I did say that. So it's taken on a whole nother avenue, I guess. Yeah.
It's evolving,
yes,
right?
Extremely.
We're being noticed.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
like when
And everybody wants to be a part of it. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes back to it's unique, it's fun. You can physically see happiness in veterans' eyes when they get off those helicopters. When I have helped pull somebody, put them back into a wheelchair, and they are just so excited. You sit there and go, you can't duplicate that.
Right.
They leave all their worries behind.
I know.
They're not in a wheelchair the day they're with us.
They've got time where they are just having fun and nothing else matters. And that's hard to explain to people unless you either see it or you've lived it or you come from it. It's hard to, get that point across.
And the other part of it too is another great story with Helicopters for Heroes is that there was a gentleman who had been medevaced out, right, in a Huey, and came to our event, and the pilot that was flying the Huey was the pilot that rescued him and flew him out.
Holy moly.
So that, I mean, it's a very small community, and to be able to connect that and be like, okay, this time you're not saving my life. This time we're doing this for fun, and we get to bond, and I get to know you.
And we get to talk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Let's talk real quick about who do you need to jump in and help at this point in the future life or the future evolution for Helicopters for Heroes? What do you need to grow it? Where do you think it could go if you had sponsors, more money, more volunteers? What could it be?
More helicopters?
More helicopters?
More helicopters.
Who's got a helicopter?
I know.
I mean,
Please.
A real one.
This means money for families. This means money for scholarships for, children of the fallen. There's a lot of things that we can do. And one of the things that we need to get back to is how we pick our recipients. Each year we interview several recipients before we pick 2 or 3 each year to give our money back to. And we try to spread the wealth, basically. Right. Every year we want somebody new or another organization locally, and then maybe a national organization that can use the money as well.
Well, and the other thing is that, we are a 501c3, and we give back 96% of what we receive, and that 4%.
It's not used on the event.
It's not. The 4% is to cover our expenses. No one that currently is associated with Helicopters for Heroes is paid. Every single board member.
Did we ever pay you, Jeff?
I did not get paid.
We
fed you.
Right.
I want to go help this year, and I do not want a paycheck.
Right. Okay. So we're all, and so we look for organizations that meet that same criteria. The few they give back, they have 3% overhead. The rest of it they give back as well.
We look for like organizations
exactly.
that need the money.
Right. Not organizations, and I won't
say
say
30% of their money on advertising.
Right. Yeah. So we're borrowing and stealing. And the big thing that we really need is continued corporations that will step up and say, hey, we want to be a part of this. We need, a main stage act or corporation will say, hey, we'll be the main stage sponsor for all the music that you're bringing in and all of that piece of it. So we really need big companies to step up and say, hey, let us contribute 100,000 or 50,000 or, and you can count on it repetitively every year so that Jeff is not hustling the entire year trying to raise money. We can focus on, okay, how do we make this better for the vets?
The event.
Right, exactly.
Focus on the vets sometimes.
Right.
We do need a title sponsor this year. We're looking for a couple of big title sponsors right now, and been interviewing a few, and some have had a problem with the hunt part of it. Yeah. So,
it's not a helicopter shoot from the helicopter. It's a hunt.
Right.
I mean, it's the way it started.
Right.
That's what it is, and that's okay. You
It's
know,
Texas.
We're cleaning
I
up
mean-
the ecosystem.
yeah, which some people do or don't understand. You know, it's but that's all right. This is
Right.
America.
We've got
Yep.
companies like Kawasaki in the past have sponsored us and brought us all the units that we move people around.
UTVs. You
Well,
got to
this-
move people in every direction.
This year we have Outdoor Power Sports. Clint Stoffel stepped in 3 days before the event last year after we lost the other sponsor, and brought 17 or 18 Polarises and mules out for us to run people
It's
around.
huge.
And this year he's going to re-up and do the same thing. He'll give us as many as we need. And guys like him, through one of our big donors last year, Teddy Panato, made a phone call for me and said, "Hey, call this guy. He'll be glad to help."
So then you think about, okay, mission-minded businesses,
Right.
businesses who care about the veterans. If you're going to go buy a Polaris right now, where would you go buy one?
Outdoor sports.
There we go.
Outdoor Power
You know?
Sports.
So,
See,
and
Clint Stoffel.
yeah, I mean, and that guy's not even here, and I don't know him, but if I was going to go buy a Ranger right now,
We send
and,
him all the
you know,
business. So
that's probably where I would go buy one because they're supporting you guys.
Right. Well, and they're supporting all of the beneficiaries as well. So it's
Yeah.
not just our
we
organization.
have
It's
we
the
have hundreds of companies that have donated in the past. Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's.
Cool.
I mean, it goes on and on. I couldn't name them already.
It just would be nice if we could have, like I said, if we could have the majority of our funds already guaranteed so that we can start focusing on how do we make this bigger?
If
How do we
just
get
had
more
the
vets
event
there?
covered every year with that bit of money, we could breathe a little bit and know that how big an event so our event always comes down to dollars. Do we have enough dollars by December 1st to plan a big event, or are we gonna have to keep it organic and small?
Yeah,
So,
I get it, man.
And 35 vets is not organic and small, in my opinion.
Well, not when you're bringing them from everywhere.
Right,
you know?
exactly. And you're bringing the
You're bringing their
handlers and-
caregivers
yeah,
and
their
their people
caregivers.
that help them and their family. And it may be their best friend, maybe they're older in life and they're bringing their best friend. And you got 3 people trying to help a guy, in a wheelchair get from Washington to here.
Right.
It's crazy
Yeah.
what it takes to get people.
Yeah, so
moved
this year we'll
around.
have someone from Florida and as well as somebody from California. So we're kind
That's
of going
cool.
coast to coast this year.
Yeah, that's good. It's pretty awesome. If you ever get a chance to go see it, it's fantastic. There's just
well, let's tell them how they can come out and participate.
do it.
Yeah, let's just go to our website. It's www.helicoptersforheroes.org. Just jump on there, check it out, see if you can find an email. You can email Samantha or myself, and we can figure out how to get you out there. But it's all donation driven.
And they can donate directly on your site, right?
They can donate funds directly, yes, and then they can also contact Jeff or myself, and we can set something up. What we'd like to do is when we have someone that's willing to commit, is we send them a pledge form that says, okay, this is what you've pledged for, and then we can kind of go, okay, we've got this money, let's move on to the next fish. And then once we're ready to invoice, we send, hey, are you good with this dollar amount? And generally people want to add more because they've now experienced it and like, oh, I know I committed 50,000, but I want to now do 75,000. So we can change that at the
Don't
last
let
minute
those
as well.
numbers scare you.
Yeah.
We'll take $5. We'll take $10.
Yeah.
Every
We'll
dollar
take
helps.
$5, $2 every month for a year.
What about volunteers for the event? And I know there's a background. I mean, you've got to make it through some steps to be able to come do what they're doing, So how many volunteers do you need this year versus how many do you have?
We don't need any this upcoming year.
Organically, we have a list that's
And as it is, even on that list, we're like, we appreciate that you've come out, but you've been more of a participant than a volunteer, so
this
you're
has
not
turned
coming
into
next
like
year.
Christmas for the volunteers. It's
Right.
really fun to be out there.
Yeah, no, I enjoy volunteering out there, but I also like to work.
Right.
Yeah.
It goes back to it's either you want to be there to participate or you want to be there to work.
Right.
And that's sometimes we have a hard time finding that
Right.
balance with volunteers.
So
So we have to be very picky now about that, or else it costs us.
Sure, because
Yeah.
you're feeding whoever is there,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
That's
And they're
super
taking a
cool.
spot of somebody else that, can maybe
Yeah,
do a little
you
bit
could be
more.
feeding a veteran
Yeah.
or a veteran's family,
Exactly.
not volunteers who aren't actually working.
It would be really cool if we could in the future have a volunteer donate $1,000 to be a volunteer.
Right.
Then we know why they want to be there. They really want to be there to help.
They're there to support. I like
Didn't
it.
think-
You buy a ticket to
Yeah,
volunteer.
Exactly.
Absolutely. We'll put you in a lottery. So
That's
for every
cool.
$100 entry, we're going to draw 5 names.
Okay. So Helicopters for Heroes, very unique. They do have a much different event that they put on. It is about community. It is about helping veterans. They also help other veterans organizations. They would like to expand it. They have a lot of need for donations and corporations to get involved. I really
Did we
think
talk about the beneficiary, Sons of the Flag?
We did. Sons of the
did,
Flag
okay.
and a few. So definitely go check out their websites as well.
Yes, Sons of the Flag and Exceptional Warriors.
who else is a big help for you guys during that event? Are there anybody else that you'd like to highlight that really come to? You mentioned 22 Kill. I know they have a big.
They're
mission.
past
Beneficiary.
recipient,
Yeah.
and we work well with the other groups. Like we go to the events for Folds of Honor.
Okay.
22 Kill is very close to me. I still support those guys.
So
That's
do I.
why I wear this ring, and so does she. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, hey, we truly appreciate y'all coming out.
Absolutely.
We thank you for your time. We thank you for coming and educating us on something that you would probably never really know about, unless you stumbled across them via Facebook or you were able to find. Now, it's getting some pretty decent press coverage.
It is.
I've been there when the press helicopters fly over. It's good to see that they're at least coming to take a look and highlighting, hey, this is something that they're really trying to help veterans do.
Yeah, we got Fox 4 out there that year.
Yeah.
And they will be. Fox and Friends will be out this year. And we've got some really amazing guest speakers that are coming out this year as well. So
That's awesome.
that are military,
We like Fox
highlights.
at Helicopters for Heroes.
There we go. They like Fox. Well, hey, I hope it gets bigger and bigger, and
Thank you.
And maybe it evolves into multiple events around the state of Texas because we could use it.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're very honored. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your
Thank you
time.
for helping our
We
veterans.
appreciate
Yeah.
your hard work.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
bet.
Enjoyed it. Thank
Thanks.
you.